Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back. Today we are going to start with the week 2 of the lecture session of the course on training and development. In the week 1, we have discussed about employee. We have discussed about the introduction to the training, different types of trainings that are possible, then employer-employee relationship, the human capital in the organization, and the importance of training for the organization. In the discussion, it has come up time and again, like for a training to be effective in nature, it has to be aligned with the purpose of the organization, the goals of the organization, and also it has to match the needs and aspirations of the persons who will be undergoing the training, so that by going through the process of training, they also gain some knowledge, they also gain some competence, and that along with that comes a sense of growth also. So this alignment of training with the goals of the organization, with the goals of the department, with the goals of the individuals are very, very important. Very specifically, it should not be like it's only designed towards fulfilling employees' needs and the organization's purpose is not served. That does not lead to an effective training program, because at the end of the day we are striving towards organizational excellence, so it has to be linked with the objectives of the organization. So what comes up as a part of this discussion is whatever training we give, it should be like linked with the organizational goals, its vision, mission, and it should be designed in a proper way so that it like percolates to departmental goals and then it percolates to individual goals. And again, there is a feedback about how accomplishment at individual level leads to accomplishment at departmental level, which again leads to accomplishment at the organizational level. For this reason, the training and development given to the employees should not be taken as a function which is separate or unrelated from the other HR functions or from the goals of the organization, but rather it should be very intricately related to the goals of the organization and all other existing HR functions. This perspective of looking at training and development as aligned with the organizational goals and objectives, departmental goals and objectives, and being connected with the other functions and subsystems of the organization, this is known as strategic training. So in this module 2, we will be having an extensive discussion on strategic training. So the lecture 1 is dedicated towards understanding what is a business strategy and how we can align our training and development to it. So let us begin. So this part of the lecture session will be held on the concept, types, importance of strategy, business strategies, and training. So learning has been recognized as a part of all employees' responsibilities, both managers along with the training professionals who are actively involved in the process, and so that they help other employees to gain new knowledge and skills. So we understand that the companies are operating in businesses to make money, and every business function is under pressure to show how it contributes to the business success. To achieve success at a desired level, Training activities help companies to move ahead according to its strategies. The strategies influence how the company uses its physical capital, financial capital, and human capital to reach the specific goals. For this, if you understand, we have to understand what is the environment, what are the demands from the environment, what are the challenges, and how do we decide to answer those challenges, and how we fix up our goals and the ways of reaching that goal. Training and development process will help us to achieve the goal through the strategies taken by the organization. And it is how the company uses its physical capital, financial capital, and human capital to reach the specific goals. So whenever we are discussing about strategy, we understand it is a way, it is planning how the organization decides to go about to achieve its mission. It is defined as an attempt to optimize the matching between organization's mission, what is occurring or is projected to occur in the external environment, and the organization's internal operations. So what is my goal? What are the constraints present in the environment? What it is happening or may happen in future? And what are my internal processes, systems, operations, strengths, competencies, so that I can reach the goal in the presence of the context that we are functioning in. So strategy is an action that managers take to attain one or more of the organizational goals. So if strategy is an action to reach a goal and which is defined within the particular context, then what does it include? So it includes setting short and long-term business objectives for the organization, setting courses of action necessary to achieve these objectives, and allocating the resources needed to carry out that actions. So setting up the goals, both short-term and long-term in nature, and then setting up the course, the path of actions that are going to achieve these objectives. And obviously for doing that, it will require certain resources and how to allocate them to different heads, to different people, so that you can it facilitates you doing the actions chosen for reaching the goal of the organization. What are the features of strategy? Strategy is very significant because without a perfect foresight, the firm must be ready to deal with uncertain events which constitute the business environment. So if you are able to foresight some of the uncertainties, you can predict, and they can be certainties for you because you get prepared for it. And this preparation for the uncertainties, this preparing yourself for facing certain situations, this is itself a training and development. So strategy deals with long-term developments rather than routine operations. So what is going to happen in the long term? What are the transformational changes going to happen in the long run? Strategy deals with that. So strategy is created to take into account the probable behavior of customers and competitors. And also strategy dealing with employees will predict the employee behavior. So whatever strategies are taken to deal with the employees, do you recognize them, do you coerce them, do you give them proper feedback, do you have you planned the succession planning properly? All these strategies that you take in dealing with the employee will predict the employee behavior. There are three major strategies which are there in the organization. First is the business strategy, second is the operational strategy, and third is the transformational strategy. So in this lecture, we will discuss a business strategy so that the discussion becomes more fruitful as you move onwards and try to assimilate what is business strategy with the training and development of the employees given in the organization. So, business strategy is a plan that integrates the goals, policies, and actions of the company. The business strategy helps direct the activities of the company, including production, finance, marketing, and human resources to achieve its specific goals. So, whenever we are talking of training and development has a direct link to strategy, as training helps employee to develop the required skills to perform the duties affecting the business directly. So, training and development enriches people with the skill sets that are required to do new duties, or maybe duties which are defined in a new way and certain things. So, it is direct link between training and business strategy, as that it helps the employees to develop the required skills to perform their duties affecting the business directly. The business strategy that you take has a major impact on the type and amount of training which occur, and whether resources like money, trainers, time, program development should be devoted to training. So here what we find over here, like the business strategy and your capability to pay, this is very important. Your capability and willingness to pay a certain amount will have an impact on the training budget, the amount of training that can be given, and because here it depends on the resources that you can invest for it, like resources in terms of money, resources in terms of trainers' time, and the program development, other options also. So, time, money, these are important resources which you need to decide on, which is going to define what kind of and how much training can be given to the employees in the organization. Strategy has a strong influence on determining certain things, like the amount of training that is devoted to the current or future job skills, and also what is the amount of training, the extent of training which is customized for the particular needs of employees or is developed based on the needs of a team, unit, or a division. So it is whether individual focused training or whether it is a group level training or it is a division level training, depends on like whether it is customized for the purpose of whom, for the serving the needs of the employees, or for determining whether unit lacks certain features and it needs to be developed, and or it moves in that way to the organizational level also. So the whenever we're talking of strategic training, this customization of training is very important. Like we just can utter the word like, like the straightforward training, or it's like a generic term, but we have to understand like training is for a purpose for someone to reach certain objectives. So these are very specific terms which will vary according to the individual's needs and preferences, also group needs and preferences. So we need to talk to the people for whom the training is getting designed, to understand their needs and accordingly rephrase maybe the training design also. There are other certain decisions which are taken by the organization as a part of training, like design and implementation, are certain questions, very sensitive questions, like whether the training is restricted to a specific groups of employees or open to all employees. Then whether training is planned and systematically administered, provided only employees need it, or when the problems occurred, or it has developed as a response to what the competitors are doing. So these things we need to take care of. So it is very important that we know why we are going for a particular training, what is the problem that we need to address, and how do we do it. So the importance placed on training compared to other human resource management practices such as selection and compensation is much more importance is given to training, because we always believe like whatever be the employees start with, like employees are always capable of development if given a proper opportunity, if given the like the proper learning environment. The employees have a need to grow through this training and development processes. So it is a very high importance is placed on training compared to other HRM processes like selection and compensation. Now, there are 5 major parts of formulation of business strategy, such as company mission, company goals, external analysis, internal analysis, and strategic choice. So, this if we can see, like we have to understand what we want to do, how we want to do it. We have to definitely study the external environment of the organization, the internal environment of the organization also, because sometimes the external environment and the internal environment reacts with each other. So then analysis should be done of the external analysis and also the internal analysis to understand the risk and challenges from each side. Then what are the strategic choices? Like to solve a problem, there could be a number of pathways, but which are the pathways that the organization choose for itself based on its certain self-surviving logic? So what are those strategic things that are choices that are made by the organization? And of course, like all these things coming together, then what is the final outcome that is coming to? So these major parts of formulation of business strategy are very, very important, specifically doing the internal analysis and the external analysis. Because this analysis helps to make the strategic choice, like decision regarding how we are going to answer to the demands of the environment. So if you can see the illustration through this chart, you will find in external analysis, we analyze for the opportunities and threats. In the mission, we understand it's the understanding of why the company exists. It gives rise to the goals, which are the company objectives. I want to do this, I want to do that. So if those are the objectives, the strengths and weaknesses of the internal analysis and also the external analysis in terms of opportunities and threats. So these are going to definitely influence and each other and the goals also, and the organization may have to rethink about what are the things that they are choosing as company objectives. So if now that path is well settled, like you can balance between external environment and the internal environment, and the organization is also knowing like why they have taken up certain objectives, and then what happens, there could be a number of ways to reach that solution, and the strategic choice is how will you compete with others based on the resources that you have, what is the resource gap that you need to develop, and how you close that gap. So whenever we are talking of closing that gap, which the person may recognize that the person is having out of these external and internal analysis, then that is where the importance of training comes. So we'll try to describe this in details. Company mission. It is a statement of reason why company is existing. It may vary, but typically include information on what the company does, the customers that are served, the value received by the customers, and the technology used. On the other hand, the vision is the picture of what the company wants to achieve in future. So, whenever you're talking of mission, it talks of present, why I am existing. So, and whenever you're talking of vision, is what I want to achieve in future, a goal setting, a target setting. So, the company goals. Company goals are what the company wants to achieve from in the medium to long term operations. It reflects how the mission will be carried out. Training can contribute to a number of different goals. Internal and external analysis, as we have told, there are stakeholders both internal to the organization and external to the organization. So these are combined to form altogether what is called the SWOT analysis. The analysis consists of internal analysis of strengths and weaknesses. The external analysis is made of threats and opportunities, and like some threat, whether it is existing or it may be anticipated. Accordingly, the people who will be getting prepared to face certain uncertainties will be well prepared through this internal and external analysis, because it helps us to know where we stand with respect to the demands from the environment. Now, the strategic choices is after the SWOT analysis is completed, the company has all the information it requires to consider how to compete, generate and several alternative business strategies, and to make a strategic choice. So whenever we are making a strategic choice, it should be such that is well aligned with the needs of the employees, government and the organization, and it appears a win-win situation to all of them. So, and that this decision can be based only after I do have a holistic picture of everything happening in the organization, and it considers based on how to compete, whether to generate choices, then alternative business strategies, etc. So, this is very important in making a strategic choice. SWOT analysis is very important. The steps of strategy implementation. The different steps of strategy implementation are developing an organization having potential of carrying out strategy successfully, disbursement of abundant resources to strategy essential activities, creative strategy encouraging policies, employing best policies and programs forever, and for the constant improvement. The word constant improvement is very important, like best policies and programs for constant improvement. Linking reward structure to accomplishment of results, making use of strategic leadership. So here what we find that the strategy implementation is a continuous process. It is not a one-time activity. Developing an organizational potential of carrying out strategy successfully is very important. Along with that is important is of course the framing of policies, abundant resources, and the continuous effort on the part of the employees, the part of the organization to upgrade oneself, to reach the objectives, to accomplish the results. And in this, of course, like the leadership plays a major role. Now, what are the strategic contingencies? What we find over here is the success of a competitive strategy is contingent on the demands of the external environment and factors internal to the organization. So no strategy cannot be successful. No strategy can be successful if it is not taking into consideration what the environment is, what it wants, what are the challenges internal to the organization, and what some of the prominent parties, the important stakeholders may want. So if we can balance both, it's fine. If not, then maybe we have to give the correct focus to the internal strategy and the external strategy. And we have to answer them maybe separately and then try to find out the common points, like how we can balance them. So the success of a competitive strategy is contingent on the demands of the external environment and factors which are internal to the organization. So this is a diagrammatic representation of that. So in this diagram, we find a relationship between environment, strategy, structure, and technology. Strategy is the process of making internal adjustments to accommodate the demands of the external environment. So here we are focusing more on the internal adjustment so that we can answer to the demands of the external environment. The arrow that is seen between the strategy and environment shows the influence in both directions. It reflects the fact that the choice of competitive strategy may change the environment where the firm operates. The external strategy requires an internal strategy to be developed and implemented. The key factors in the internal strategy are the organization structure and core technology. So, the external strategy is heavily dependent on the internal strategy, and the internal strategy are the very important for its the organizational structure, core technology, the systems present in the organization. These are very important because that will define what are my strengths, what are my capabilities to face the external environment. Now, what is the value of the training and development to business? So till here we have learnt about what are the different kinds of strategies and what is the place of training and development in the hierarchy of business strategies, how it can be made useful for both at the organizational level, individual level, and at the group level. So now we'll come to the question of the value of training and development to the business. So company or a business house recognizes the value of training and development and find them as a part of better learning. The capabilities required are alignment of the learning goals with the business goals, measurement of the overall business impact of this learning function, and movement of learning outside company to include customers, vendors, and suppliers. So whenever we are talking of human resource development, so with that coinage of the term itself, what comes is the value that people place on the training and development and how it adapts to better learning. So the capabilities that people need to develop are alignment of internal processes goals with the business goals, then vice versa, how the business goals are getting connected with the organizational goals. So similarly, how the organizational goals gets affected by the learning functions, because now we want to align the learning goals with the goals of the organization, and also how we can spread this learning process. This is a habit that we need to spread. So across the boundaries between different customers, vendors, and suppliers, so that they also become knowledgeable of how to behave and what to like expect from the company, and how to handhold each other as a common group. A focus on developing competencies for the most critical jobs, integration of learning with other human resource functions, then delivery approaches that include classroom as well as e-learning, and design and delivery of leadership development course. So these are the important functions that training and development have for business. So it focuses on the competencies of the critical jobs, then how in learning process is blended with other HR functions, and the delivery approaches, like how to go for newer technology like e-learning platforms, which are like within the reach also of different people to do it. So how to like reach every household kind of thing to, or like how to make employees learn at their free time at their own pace is when we are talking of designing this e-learning program. So this is self-mode kind of learning. And design and delivery of leadership of development course. Leadership development course, so of course, like who is the leader, what are the leadership styles, what would be the leadership style given situation. These we need to learn, and this like this leads to development, and we need to learn about it and how it will be delivered, whether it is like recorded video where people can like see those videos and learn by self at their own ease, or a workshop will be arranged for this, or a seminar will be called for this. These are design issues which like the need to be discussed whenever we are talking of the design and delivery of leadership development course, because the organization has to decide on how it is going to like bring to the people the next course, and so that it is attractive, so that they get interested to learn it. These are very, very important things. Now, what are the possible business goals influenced by training? Training has influenced the following business goals: productivity, it has reduced scrap and network, it has increased customer satisfaction, and reduced operational risk and accidents due to carelessness of employees, and increased employee satisfaction and retention. So it's important to see like when it is reduced scrap and network, we are talking of like how it has improved, and like how the wastages have been removed, and then also we are talking of reduced operational risk and accident due to carelessness of employees. So this is where we find the employees also are putting their mind into like collective effort into understanding that these things are bad, like like if you're not answering to the ways of doing things as mentioned, and if you're not following the instructions, then we run through the risks and accidents may happen. So they are also becoming self-motivated to like do away with the carelessness and be more conscious while they are working. So reduced operational risk and accident due to carelessness of employees is of course an important like contribution of training to the field. It increases employee satisfaction and retention. So increased time and value producing goods, better management decisions, increased development of human capital, and succession planning is needed for competitive advantage and growth. So this is the last line is very, very important, like succession planning. How do we start thinking of who can be my successor, how I am grooming that person stage by stage, how I am helping that person to grow is also very important. So succession planning is needed for competitive advantage and growth, and it needs to be a very well thought about process, and like it should be done on the uh, succession planning should be done in a very careful, slowly way, so that um, it does not come like a surprise on one day. It has to be a very slow process, uh, consciously taken up by the organization, so that they are able to find out the next leader. This is very important. So these are the references that we have used for these slides. This part of the lecture session has given a clear picture on the concept of strategy, business strategy, and various other aspects of business strategy and training, which may be very beneficial to all learners. So in the second session, we will be discussing on more aspects of the strategic training. So why it is important, how it gets linked to business, what are the things it needs to be careful about if it wants to get linked to the business. All this we'll be discussing in the upcoming lectures. Please stay tuned with us.